All right, we're not going to do intros. I got so much. Remember the good old days when Cappy would get like 3 or 4 requests a week? Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Look at this. This is great. I think I'm doing probably 30, maybe 25 a week now. Whew. Remember when Cappy had a real job and got paid to do real job things? Not complaining, I'm just saying. Remember that? Those are horrible times. Mr. Clary, and I got to anonymize this guy because he's somewhat notable. You may have ran into him, but I don't want to have his association with me ruin his reputation. Mr. Clary, thanks for taking the time and my money to read my bullshit and tell me to shut the fuck up and stop complaining. Longtime fan, parentheses equals anonymity, much appreciated. Here's the story. 26-year-old and working in a right-leaning nonprofit world as a media producer. About 3 years ago, I joined a company after working, and he mentions where it is, after working briefly with someone well-known in the industry, and I have met that guy, and I know that guy. I knew him when he was young, who now serves as one of the main people at the place. We were friends prior to this arrangement. After meeting and working together, interned with him, I turned out to be a shitty millennial who couldn't show up on time to Monday staff meetings, but my content was good, and so he was forgiving. He was also a fan of my now archived YouTube channel, which yielded moderate success with about 100,000 subscribers. What did you give that up for? That's a gold mine, man. What? Can you fire it back up? Reason for my emails to hopefully get some clarity on what I really have been working in, on what I really have working in my favor and not. The company I work for is incredibly well funded. Although it's a nonprofit, being so close to higher management makes it a much more interesting opportunity. I started out making upwards of 6 figures contracting for them, but was offered a full-time position at a certain year for a lot less, which after taxes is basically a lunch lady pay for a field I'm in. But being inexperienced in negotiation, first job, making 401k and stuff, along with the obvious pros of freedom to work remotely, be creative, autonomous, access to campus anytime I like, indulge in some other nice fringe benefits that sounds endless wine. Well, maybe you did get the better end of that deal. When can I come work there? And reporting and working for this person made the sacrifice of compensation worth it. Fast forward a year, I was granted a raise, which is nothing to scoff at. Yeah, it's a significant raise, especially since I'm from a poor area with a high school diploma. You got a shit GPA. Holy cow, man. That is, you really just showed up and they took your pulse. That was about it. And no work experience as a media producer outside my YouTube channel. I would really like to grow long-term with the company, but I'm dealing with some weird millennial midlife crisis, asking questions like, am I talented or just the token black guy who can insatiate boomers with mediocre audio-visual skills and hot economic takes? Do people listen to the contents of what I say, or do they just smile at a handsome young man in a suit who chuckles along to their drunken praises of Adam Smith and free markets? Should I feel some sense of disgust knowing that I can basically be charming and sip Manhattans with executives and historians, collect a paycheck, never contribute real value to society? Or is this, as you often say, as good as it gets? I don't lack work ethic. On one hand, I understand my situation can be classified as a fairy tale. I shouldn't be bitching about my good fortune. You know, another thing that you have going for you, I mean, it's not that you have it going for you, something that's you didn't have to go to college, man. That is like 4 years of your youth saved. That's awesome. On the other hand, I want to ensure I'm being realistic and having a long-term strategy or plan to actually advance professionally and build skills. How do I reap the rewards of this? Long-term strategy plan. Actually advance professionally and build skills. How do I reap the rewards of this opportunity presented with? While not falling into the trap of becoming a stunted or paralyzed yes man in a place. And I said, well, shoot me over some videos and all that other stuff. And how much are you working per week? Hours these days, maybe 10. All right. So you're not that 1.4 GPA kid no more. You show up to meetings on time, I bet. If you're putting in 10 hours a day, per week hours. Wait, maybe 10. You're only putting 10 hours a week a day? Most of the job is facilitating Zoom calls and scoring through Slack. My intense workloads are project-based, so maybe 2 weeks at 50 hours per week every other month. Otherwise, just idle. Okay, so you're only at 10 hours per week. All right, well, let me stop you here and explain something. That may not feel like full-time work, but that is full-time work. And the reason I call that full-time work is because when I worked, and every job I ever had, I never had more than 2 hours per day. When you multiply times 5 days per week, that's 10 hours. The reason you say, I only put in 10 hours a week and it feels bad is because you're working from home. If you were forced to go into an office, you do your 2 hours of work per week, per day, and then you twiddle your thumb for 6. I'm not joking. Look it up. Read my very first book that I wrote 13 years ago. All right. So you actually are working full time. So I would not worry about that. Then when you got actual work, then we got actual projects to do, then you'll do overtime, which is good, which is fine. But yeah, and if you want to put in extra work, go put in some extra work. If you want to go to your boss, say, hey, boss, there are other projects you got for me to do. You know, if you're starting to feel a little bit guilty, I don't think that's going to hurt you. I got a little bit extra capacity here I could use. But just so you know, because you're a younger man, you're like, I'm only working 2 hours a day. That's about right. That is about right. And I want you to send me a video you did. And then you sent a video. I watched it. So let's go to your questions here that you're concerned about. Am I a talented or just a token black guy who can insatiate boomers with mediocre AV skills and hot economic takes? All right. You are not the token black guy. You are very well spoken. And this entity that you work for would not have hired you for affirmative action purposes. That is anti-core to their principles, one of the foremost principles of which would be meritocracy. If you got hired, it's because they thought you were the best guy. All right? That's that. And keep in mind, what is best? It doesn't just mean you have the best audiovisual skills. It's also people skills, which I don't really believe is a thing, but it is a thing. But when someone says, I have great people skills, I'm like, no, you don't. You really don't. You just don't. But it's not just your audiovisual skills. It's the fact they also like you. You're probably respectful. You probably now do show up on time. You probably have some insights or observations that a lot of them don't. It doesn't matter why necessarily they hired you. They hired you for reasons that work best for that company. And I know this company. I know this entity. They do not do charity hires. They would never do that because not only they don't have the cash, it would go against every inkling of their ideological philosophy. Right? Are you talented? Yeah, I watched the video. You're presentable. You put together, and here's, you don't even have to ask me that. You're the one that had a YouTube channel with twice the amount of subscribers that I did, and Lord knows how many views. And you could argue, okay, some of that is, oh, hey, look, the black guy saying non-Marxist things. Some of that, you may have had a little bit of a boost. You don't get to 100,000 subscribers, though, unless you're one of two things, a hot chick with big tits or an actual talented person, all right? And so even with, you could say, okay, maybe you got 10% more because, oh, look, I follow a black guy. See, I'm not racist. But you don't make 100,000 unless there's real talent. So the Mr. Ideology, the free market has spoken. They're willingly, no one put a gun to those 100,000 people to sign up for your channel. They did. And then when you sent me this video here, you're sharp, you're put together, you're presentable, you're very, what's the word I'm looking for? You just, you're not a slob. You speak very well. You remind me of Thomas Sowell a little bit. Maybe even a little bit. Sowell is like, is he alive? Speak up. Get a little more agitated, Tom. You can get a little angry. I don't know if Tom ever got angry. But yeah, you're legitimate. And maybe, okay, fine. Your AV skills may not be all that great. All right. Well, that really bothers you. Improve your AV skills. Take some online classes. Try some new things. Learn to simulcast. Whatever the latest thing is, become the best AV guy you can possibly be. But it's not just your AV skills that people will hire you for. And you have hot economic takes. Cool. You know what some of the benefits are of having opinions that are different from your group? Using, if okay, you're black, you probably espouse conservative, libertarian, free market stuff. It's rare. Wow, hey, there's a black guy who isn't spouting Marxist, leftist, parasitic shit. That's different. I may not even agree with him, but that's different. Do you want another example? There's a thin American woman. I wonder if that's going to get attraction. And whether you like it or not, and you have an economics background, you know that scarcity plus utility as well, but scarcity is what drives value. Dirt, dude, I can get any millennial off the street, any Gen Zer off the street. Wow, hey, can you give me a political opinion that's socialist? Dime a dozen. That's as common as dirt. You find a young Gen Zer who's like, yeah, I'm majoring in engineering, and I just want to settle down with wife. We're going to have a traditional stay-at-home wife, traditional nuclear family. That's the diamond. That's rare. That's scarce. And so I don't think you came along this through shtick. I don't think you say, hey, watch this. Hey, Jerome, watch me go and infiltrate conservative libertarian institutions by lying about what I actually believe. You came to this to and you could tell the way you speak that you actually do believe it. It's not like, Paul Krugman is a perfect example. He is a leftist, but he don't believe half the shit he says. You could see him. He's like that. Was it Worm from the Lord of the Rings? Yeah, Your Highness. They're evil people, the wizard. That guy, like, oh, get your scummy ass out of here. You're sincere, right? And one of the benefits, and this is, you didn't have to work at this. You're just being intellectually honest. One of the benefits of being honest in today's world, or just being different or rare, is you have value conferred upon you, right? Did you earn that? Kind of, because you had to go through independent thought and intellectual thinking. But did a girl earn her big natural double D's with a tight waist? Not really, but there's value conferred upon it anyway. So I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I'd be like, hey, I won a little bit. I won. You were born poor. Sometimes you lose. You get dealt 5 cards. Well, I was poor. Okay, that's the 2 of clubs. What? Hey, I'm unique because I have an opinion most people like me don't have. That's an ace. All right. So there's nothing wrong with getting an ace dealt to you. So if you have any guilt, I would just, it's hard to say, well, don't feel guilty. We'll just stop that. But if you feel like you need to do more, and this would be for your own personal benefit, up your AV skills, like really become the best at that. And that'd be more of an individual, personal, philosophical, point and purpose. Is this, is that what my point and purpose in life is? Do people listen to the contents of what I say, or do they just smile at a handsome young man in a suit who chuckles along with their drunken praises of Adam Smith at free markets? Yes, people do listen. Look, if you're an idiot and saying dumb thing, they wouldn't listen to you. Here's another thing. Well, let's read you second one. Third one. Should I feel some sense of disgust knowing that I can basically be charming and sit Manhattans with the executives and historians, collect a paycheck, and never contribute real value to society? Should you feel disgust because people like you? Look, man, you don't set up these rules. Let's talk about, again, banking and people who have what's it. When I talk about people who have what's it, normally I recommend nobody go into banking or finance. It's completely corrupt, populated by a bunch of inept, corrupt idiots. I mean, just criminal, basically. And normal, functional, healthy, intelligent people shouldn't even bother with that. But then I provide a caveat. Every once in a while, there's a guy or a gal that has what's it. Usually it's very nice hair. And it's more than that. But there are some guys, some gals who they got that right personality. They got that right skill set. And no matter how much you like this or not, humans are not robots, and they respond to other humans. They respond to emotion, not sappy emotion, but emotion and human behavior. And these guys just had charm, man. They're just really charming people, or they're really professional. People just gravitated towards them. And that didn't make them bad people. Made them really rich is what it did, but it didn't make them bad people. All right. So you got dealt a 2, you were born poor. You got dealt an ace, you have non-Marxist belief for a black man. You got dealt another ace because you just happen to have a very charming personality. And at the end of the day, that, you know, especially since you're in media, like you're not at a factory. If you were at a factory, it doesn't matter if you get along with guys at the bar. It's how many widgets did you bang out, you know, on your assembly line there, Bob. His name is not Bob. But since your job is media, and I would say marketing, I don't want to identify too many. Your job is marketing. Yeah, these people skills are pretty important. All right. And maybe it's people nature to you. Maybe you didn't hone your skills. But hey, just be happy you got another ace, man. Should I feel some sense of disgust knowing that I could basically be charming and sip Manhattans with executives and historians? No, you shouldn't feel disgust. You should be jumping up and down like, hey, I can't believe it that I'm getting paid to drink booze, high-end booze, by the way, with intellects and historians and philosophers and executives and all that. And it's hard. I know you probably like, and this is why I'm saying, look, if you don't think you've earned this, right, that's why I would say, well, then up your AV skills. All right. Do a little bit more for this firm or this company. You got the extra time. All right. But at the same time, do not feel guilty about value of which value that of which is conferred to you by other people. Right. I'll give you another example. Someone buys heroin and uses it. You just don't buy it to put it on the desk. They buy heroin. You may question that, say, well, that's not good for you. Why would you do that? It doesn't matter. That person values heroin. They will willingly pay for that. Okay. Somebody buys a Harlequin romance novel. All right. Malone and Tesla. Perfect example of the first male Harlequin romance novel, the first bromance written by Vince LaRosa, if you want to. Like, I don't want to read male romance. All right. But somebody might. And it is not me to judge that they value that. And for some reason, probably because you're charming and charismatic, a lot of people enjoy your company and they place a lot of value on you. You might not understand that, but it doesn't matter what you think. It's their choice. They choose to. And so you should be celebratory. For example, like I always get a kick out of this. Like, you're going to give me $5 to ask me a question. You guys tune into this show to hear me yell and scream at the internet and answer people's questions. I don't understand it. My dad doesn't understand. Not for us to decide, because here come the money. Here come the pokings of the fun. Here comes the accusations of being a dog beater and Dre's very, very dry, acerbic jokes. You know, why? Another example. There was this gal had a huge crush on me. I was like in the 9th grade or something. I was like this big nerd. I was this dumb nerd, and no one liked me at my school. I went to I went to a different town over, and there was some, what the heck was it? It wasn't a teenage dance. There were other people my age, and for whatever reason, this really cute girl, I'll never forget, she had glasses over in Milwaukee, and she just, like, immediately I could tell instinctually, like, wow, this girl really likes me. And I didn't understand. I didn't know how to respond, frankly. She just really liked me. Now, I didn't understand it. I was like, well, don't you know who I am? I'm like the second biggest nerd over at this school district. She liked me. And so sometimes, you know, good things happen. And hopefully one of those things is a lot of people confer value on you. And I'd also warn you here. Look, I know your skills are in audio visual, you know, your actual technical skills, but your value to the rest of society may be that you're just a very charming, charismatic man. Maybe it's PR. you know, and you don't control what the public views you as. The public will view you as they want to view you. And right now they gravitate towards you. So, you know, that's something you should be ashamed of or guilty of. But I understand, like, I just showed, you know, like, what's it like to be George Clooney? I was born to a rich woman. I had all the connections in the world, and I'm really handsome. Maybe he has these problems, like, oh, maybe I ought to like farm or something. Okay, go do that. But, you know, don't, one, feel guilty that a lot of people like you. And two, keep in mind that maybe this is the way that you should go career-wise in kind of a marketing PR, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say negotiations, just, you know, public relations type. Or is this, as you often say, as good as it gets? I don't lack work ethic. On one hand, I understand my situation can basically be classified as a fairy tale and should be bitching. On the other hand, I want to ensure I'm being realistic and having a long-term strategy or plan to actually advance professionally and build skills. How do I reap the rewards this opportunity I'm presented with while not falling into the trap of becoming a stunned, paralyzed man? All right. If you're worried about that, like the good times may end, which is a good strategy, very conservative strategy to have, skill up in audio visual. If there's something else you wanted to do, like, do they have use for an accountant? Do you want to learn accounting? Maybe get your CPA. All right. So certainly skill up. You have the extra time and capacity to do that. But right now, you know, it's like the fruit from the trees is low hanging and succulent and huge. Like, oh my God, what do I do now? What if this succulent, low hanging fruit goes away? It's like, well, it may go away, but effing pluck it. Go get it. Go harvest it. So do not, appreciate, be a little bit cautious, think long-term planning, but don't deny that this opportunity is here in front of you and you should capitalize on it. And here's another thing. I mean, your overall question is, what is my life purpose, Cappy? Sometimes that's not up for you to decide. I mean, there's stuff that you want to do. Like when you're a little kid, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a cop. No kid says they want to be an accountant. I want to be a zoo person who looks over the animals. But I sure as hell didn't say, I want to be this internet guy that yells at television screens. And then people tell me, what's the internet? I'm going to be a ballroom dancer. Said me never. Never said that. And so what it ends up becoming is two things. Your career, your profession is what the world wants you to do. And we've talked about this before, and you being the economist as well, you know that bears out in the labor market. What do people want? People want programmers, they want engineers, they want doctors, they want audio-visual, internet-savvy people. Okay, that's where the money is. What do people also want? They want charming, charismatic salesmen. They want good-looking gals. They want people they like to gravitate towards. You also got that. Then there's what do you do individually as a man behind closed doors when you're with your own thoughts and you're holding yourself up to your own standards. Now, I would say, as an economist, okay, I do this labor. People pay me. I've earned my keep within society, whatever role or job that is, because it was a voluntary exchange. They gave me money willingly, and I gave them my service and my time. So I'm squared away there. But what makes me feel good at night? What makes me feel like, wow, Aaron, you're not a complete douche, or you're not a complete douchebag. That's, I would say the love of others. Go get a family if you want, find a girl, fall in love. Oh, God, am I funny? But in theory, you could. But otherwise, in the meantime, go get this book and read that. Oh, God, I should become a comedian. That was pretty funny. Like, kill me. But get some good friends, get some good colleagues, some of which might be over at your place of work. But then if you want to do something else that makes you feel good, like, okay, maybe you do become a CPA. Maybe you get another skill. Maybe you become the best AV guy. Maybe you write a book on the side, something. I understand you're like, well, what if this all goes away? Okay, save up some money. All right. Get your skills up there. But to give you purpose and meaning, purpose in life, it ain't your job. It is not your job. It will give you some value and purpose in life, but unto you, it's what you got to figure out. But usually it involves the love of other people and then something in terms of like hobbies and what you enjoy doing in life. whatever that may be, motorcycle riding, mountain climbing, shooting guns, go do that. But once you accept what you got now in terms of this opportunity, if you're still worried about securing your professionalism and like, oh, what if this goes away? Okay, up your AV skills, get some other kind of skills that are employable elsewhere. But then life, purpose, and agency, well, you don't necessarily control that. There's something you would like to do to affect upon the world and then derive value from it. That's what you got to figure out. But that's where your hobbies and your fun stuff and chasing after love and having children, that's where that comes in later. But I absolutely would not feel guilty. I would be thankful. I would not be so afraid of losing this opportunity. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Be thankful you got the low-hanging, succulent fruit. Harvest it. Appreciate it. Relax. Spend a little bit more time on your profession. You should be fine. But yeah, beyond that, no, that you're doing just fine. And I would not. What else? Unless you had like, oh God, I've always wanted to be a horse farrier. Until you come up with that dream, this is great, man. And keep in mind, you do not decide what you do in life. It's the real world. And the people who try to decide what they're going to do in life usually end up being piss po because like, I want to help the children and cure poverty and cancer. Well, cancer, you make money. I care so much. I want to spend my dream to be a teacher. Those people die failures and po. You won't. Until the communists take it away. All right, there we go. Let's get to the super chats. Mexi Mike for $5. He seems to have imposter syndrome, has continually demonstrated foresight. No surprise, because he's probably smart, humble, creative, introspective. Yeah. Well, he's also young. I mean, like, when you see all your colleagues at that age, kind of suffering, still living at home, barely able to make rent, and you're all of a sudden making pretty good money, and your job is easy, you're kind of like, whoa, like this is not normal. It's like the really super hot chick that hits on you at a club. It's like, what's wrong? Like, is she drunk? Does she have a penis? What's going on? What happened? You're like, I understand the concern or the fret. But some, blind squirrels and acorns, man, they sometimes have it. They find one. Douglas G, $5. What channels on YouTube do you recommend that provide a source of truth? All I know is you and Thomas Sowell lectures. Oh, well, what channels on you? I would go with Jordan Peterson. He's one. I'm just trying to think of people that are prominent and also current. Just Rollo Tomasi if you want to go into the realm of women. Truth. I don't know if there's a particular channel. What I would do is go online and search Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman died before there were YouTube channels. So if you seem to have a penchant for economists, look up Milton Friedman, look up Ludwig von Mises, look up Murray Rothbard, the Austrian school. Look up. See, I'm not a big philosopher. Look up philosophical things like truth. But see, the problem with that, then you start running into people who claim to be ethicists who are snake oil salesmen. They're scumbags. But I look up things topically. Read through history. You'll be able to suss what happens. You'll be able to suss out the truth throughout history. But who else? Avoid Chomsky. Avoid these self-declared philosophers. That it. There we go. All right. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. See you guys later. Toodles.